Hello everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Gentoo, your source for all things video game and tech related. I'm Kate Cox.
And I'm Keegan Cooper. Let's get right into this week's new releases. You'll be able to see these games and many more released throughout the week on your favorite platforms.
This week we have a cake destruction game for dessert lovers, or haters I guess. A new game based in medieval China, and Mario Kart in real life.
Mario Kart Live Home Circuit comes out for the Nintendo Switch on October 16th. Included in this package is of course the game, and either a Mario or Luigi Kart, along with some cardboard gates and barriers to help you create your own track at home. However, banana peels are not included.
Cake Bash released for the PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia on October 15th. Fight to be the tastiest cake in Cake Bash, a frantic 4-player party game where adorable drawn-to-life cakes beat the crumbs out of each other.
I love cake. Yeah, I love cake. 9 Monkeys of Shaolin releases for the PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on October 16th. In this side-scroller beat-em-up, you play as a simple Chinese fisherman, Wei Chang. You have to avenge the death of your friends and family that were slaughtered in a pirate raid in your peaceful village.
These games and many more will be releasing throughout the month, so be sure to be on the lookout for them.
Up next, check out X-Gen with Dalton.
Hello everybody and welcome back to X-Gen, the show where I talk about games that I had a real good time with on what we only have less than a month left of calling current gen consoles. I'm sure most of us already know that Insomniac Games is slated to have a huge start on next-gen consoles with Miles Morales and Ratchet & Clank: A Rift Apart coming somewhere in the PS5's launch window. But they did have one game in particular this generation that caught my eye.
Cover mechanic, right?
Oh, you thought I was going to talk about Spider-Man. Yeah, right. This week we're talking about their 2014 Xbox exclusive, yes, Xbox, Sunset Overdrive. This game was cool for a whole bunch of reasons, which we'll of course get to in a bit, but first, you know how it goes. In the year 2027, Fizzco releases their new energy drink, Overcharged Delirium XT, also known as OCD, exclusively in Sunset City. Fizzco may or may not have totally skipped any and all health protocols in order to rush the drink to shelves. This led to the drink being so toxic it turned anyone who drank it into a violent mutant known as an overcharged drinker, or OD. It is up to you, a Fizzco janitor who is unaffected by the drink because apparently nobody liked you enough to invite you to the big party for the launch of OCD. Sunset Overdrive is a game full of those I think I might be close to the end of the game moments that more often than not end in a big swerve. About to escape the city in a plane and expose the outbreak? No you're not, here's an invisible wall that your plane just crashed into. The main factions in this game only make it even better. Whether you were helping out the scout troop who took over a samurai museum and now live by the Bushido Code, or a group of LARPers that send you on epic quests to gain XP. The dialogue in this game is incredibly hilarious and helps to facilitate an extra layer of fun over what is the actual main attraction of this game. Sunset Overdrive's awesome apocalypse is fueled by a lot of ideas from other games. Devs have said they took a lot of inspiration from the Prince of Persia, Jet Set Radio, and the Tony Hawk games, which is very evident in the movement system and combat in this game. One of the most important aspects of the game is the style meter, which is in the top right corner of the screen. The meter fills up as you grind, bounce, wall run, and zipline through the city, all while killing dozens of mutant and human adversaries. The last thing you want to do in this game is get caught on the ground while you're in a firefight. This makes it far easier for the enemies to dogpile on you and send you to your death. But have no fear, Insomniac introduced next-gen respawning in this game where once you die you respawn right back into the game in a variety of ways. No boring load screen required. Of course, to have fun combat, you need some fun weapons, which this game has plenty of. Whether using the AKFU, the explosive TNT Teddy Grenade Launcher, or the Roman Candle, which shoots fireworks at your enemies. All these weapons allow for you to equip amps to them, which essentially give each weapon different special abilities that are activated whenever you reach a certain level on the style meter. Some of these amps do things like add an electrical effect to each of your shots, which can then arc to multiple enemies. One makes it so whenever you swing your melee weapon it creates tornadoes, and another amp gives you your own announcer to announce your awesomeness as you tear through town. All of these combine to make a game that, as long as you can get on board with the movement system, is pretty solid.
I'm supposed to protect you from goblins. There's no goblins here. Oh, goblins!
I had a pretty good time with this game. It held my attention long enough for me to beat it, which is something not every game can say. In the hour that I played this game to get footage, I was reminded of how funny a lot of the dialogue in these games are. It appeals to my incredibly Gen Z sense of humor. Another thing that really sticks out to me in this game is the incredibly high energy music it features, and how the higher your style meter is filled, the more intense the music will be. So, you know, rack up those kills and you'll just be really just jamming out and having a great time. I'm definitely debating really getting back into this game just to go around and tie up all the loose ends for my playthrough, and maybe even buy the DLC, because this game is a solid like 5.5 years old now, so the DLC better be affordable. If you're a fan of the Spider-Man games and the swinging around the city feel it offers, Sunset Overdrive would definitely be a good game to pick up, if not just to see how Insomniac got to where they are now. Just make sure you pick up next week's episode of Gentoo, where I will see you next week.
Hello, and welcome to Steam on a Budget. I'm Drew, and on this week, I'll be looking at the famous wave shooter, Payday 2. Payday 2 is a wave-based shooter where you and your friends will try to fight off waves of enemies while you do different heists to get more money and XP. You can use this money to unlock new weapons and armor and try to take on harder challenges. I was skeptical about this game, and I didn't know if I'd like it. It's a little old and the amount of content in it seems a bit overwhelming, but after playing it, I can confirm it's one of my favorites so far. There are tons of good things about the game, but I'll only try to cover the best. The first thing I noticed about this game was the amount of missions in it. I was playing with a friend who has tons of things unlocked, so we were able to play a varied set of missions. Some missions you're robbing a bank for gold bars, and in others you're trying to steal nukes or something from a warehouse. The different settings and situations make every mission interesting and fun to play. I was always trying to find out new strategies to complete the objectives. Another aspect of the game that was great was the overall customization. Instead of using preset loadouts, you get to customize what you take with you into the mission. This includes weapons, armor, perks, cosmetics, pretty much anything you'd think of. This allows you to prepare for stealth runs, or if you want to go loud with it, you can do that too. It makes the overall combat more enjoyable. Lastly, the co-op aspect. This game is best played with friends. It's built so that the co-op shenanigans are the highlight of the game. Playing with friends also makes you feel like a secret agent, pulling off cool heists, or a team of super soldiers, holding off waves of enemies. It just makes the game feel more intense. Now, no game is perfect, so there are some things that can get in the way of enjoyment as well. Now, the main problem I had was the controls. This game is somewhat old, and as everyone knows, old PC games usually have weird controls. They can be changed in settings, but it does get to be a hassle sometimes. Now, there also is the problem that sometimes enemies will clip through walls, doors, windows, and other such things, and it can be jarring when it happens, but it doesn't happen too often. It's just a side effect of the engine being old and clunky. One last issue I had with Payday 2 was the overall complexity. You can tell while you're playing it that some features have been built upon so much since the game's release that it's grown increasingly complex. A new player will look at some of the options in the menus, the customization features, and mission selection, and be completely blindsided by the complexity of everything. Sometimes I found myself staring at missions, trying to understand the difficulty ratings and the difference between certain mission types. Overall, I'd say that Payday 2 is a must-buy wave shooter that will give great memories with friends. This is Drew, and thanks for watching Steam on a Budget.
What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another week of Tuck Talks. Now, this week, we're taking a bit of a different path, different video type this week. We're going to be stepping away from sports, and we're going to be talking about a PC game that me and my friends have been having a lot of fun playing recently. This week, we're going to be talking about Spellbreak. Spellbreak is a free game on the Epic Games store on PC, and it's made by Epic Games. Because it's made by Epic Games, the game feels like Fortnite. It just plays differently. There are no guns. It's more of just like a magic type deal where you have magic gauntlets and you're using their different types of gauntlets. There's an ice gauntlet, a toxic gauntlet, which is just poison. When you start the game, you first have to go through a tutorial phase, and the tutorial shows you how to play the games, how to use the gauntlets, and what to do and how to get your movement down. And then you finish the tutorial and it shows that you can play with 2 more friends, playing up to trios. Menu's designed pretty nice. I mean, it's an Epic Games game, and so their menuing is always really nice. You have the play tab, and then you also go to collections, and in collections is where you can customize your character, same just like normal Fortnite, where you can have back bling and you can have emotes. You can also have a trail for when you're flying in. And then you go to the mastery tab, which is essentially just your kill death ratio with each different gauntlet. This game's pretty cool because you can play with 6 different gauntlets right now, and each gauntlet tracks its own stats. So if you want to play as like an ice main, then it tracks your ice stats. If you want to play as a toxic main, then it tracks your toxic stats. You have your friends tab where you can just invite your friends. You can play with your friends, see how your friends are doing. They have a news tab. The news tab is where they show all their patch notes, what they've been up to, how the game's going to progress, and they do a pretty good job of releasing. And then of course this game wouldn't be an Epic Games game without a shop. So you have the shop here, and you can go and buy different things, currency. You do get in-game currency, but you get like 50 currency each level you get, and it kind of takes a while for you to level up. So they do also have the option to where you can buy currency, you can buy packs, and the packs will give you skins. The skins that you buy don't give you any advantage. It's just purely cosmetic. A big key in this game is synergy between the gauntlets. So for example, I show here lightning and electric. You can launch your ice lance and a path will come up if you start out at the game as ice, and you can throw a lightning bolt on the ice, and then you can hurt whoever is on it after you or before you. Another synergy with ice is ice and toxic. This little technique is called a Pokeball. It's where you use your Q for your ice, which is just this big frozen ring. Anything in it gets frozen. And then you throw your E for toxic, and it throws this giant blob that freezes. Anyone trapped inside the blob is frozen, stuck in there, and takes damage. So that's pretty cool. Basics for Spellbreak. Hope you all enjoyed. I really do recommend this game. This is a really fun game. Me and my friends love playing it, and I highly recommend you should check it out. Thanks for coming by.
Hello everyone, and welcome to High Fives, the show where I shove my unwanted opinion on video games into the mix and put them in a top 5 format. Now, seeing that it's the spooky month, I thought it would be fitting to start it off by covering a scary game. Today's pick is the new hit horror game, Phasmophobia. To briefly summarize, this game is a 4-person co-op horror game where you conduct lifelike paranormal investigations by setting up equipment, searching for clues, and even talking to the ghost via your real-life voice. The end goal of this is to gather enough information to determine what kind of ghost haunts your location, but be careful, the longer you stay, the more angry it will become, causing it to possibly attack. Now that you know the basics of the game, let's talk about the top 5 scariest ghosts that you might encounter in Phasmophobia. Starting off our list, we have the WRAITH. This ghost type is at number 5 strictly because of its unique ability to not have audible or visible footsteps. This makes tracking the ghost significantly more difficult and causes searching for it to be a lot more intense. The WRAITH's counter though, being salt that is poured on the ground, puts it at a big disadvantage, halting its attempts to attack or move to another room. This means if you are even just slightly prepared, you can counter and identify this ghost pretty easily. At number 4, we have the MARE. This ghost type is how you would normally expect a ghost to behave like. This is made clear in its strength and weakness. The mare's strength is in its increased chance to attack when you are in the dark, where its weakness is simply the opposite, having its attack chance lessened when you are in the light. Because of this simple playstyle, being in the dark with the mare is absolutely terrifying, being constantly chased by something you can't see but can hear whilst traversing through pitch black buildings. At number 3, we have the Oni. This ghost type is special because of its strength already being scary, with it being able to move objects at great speeds, but its weakness could also be seen as a strength, being that it's more active when other players are nearby. While this does make the Oni easier to identify, it also allows for more opportunities for attack, causing you to constantly look over your shoulder when investigating. Its strength also provides for some tense moments, seeing different objects fly off of shelves right in front of your eyes, regardless if you're in the light or the dark. At number 2, we have the Banshee. Now, this is not your traditional kind of Banshee, where it does nothing but scream at you. Instead, this game chooses to make it a lot more of a predator in the shadows kind of ghost. Its strength is absolutely terrifying, being that it stalks one person at a time regardless if they're in a group or not, before eventually attacking. Its weakness, however, is the only reason it's not at the number 1 spot. That being that it won't attack at all when you're holding or near a crucifix, making this ghost have a much more difficult time in hunting. And at the number 1 spot for the scariest ghost, we have the Demon. This kind of ghost has no predictability. It's essentially the wild card of all of the ghost types because of its strength and its lack of a true weakness. To start off, this ghost's weakness does not prevent it from attacking or moving at all. It only causes a player asking a question using the Ouija board to not anger it quicker. The demon's strength, however, is where things really get scary. Its strength causes it to attack at completely random times, as well as attacking random people. Due to this huge advantage, actually getting a demon as your ghost in investigations is pretty rare, but when you do have one, be prepared for the most heart-pounding, intense gameplay you can have in Phasmophobia. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of High Fives. My name is Chris Young, and I will see you in the next installment.
Welcome to this week of Virtual and Reality. I'm your host, Derek Campbell. This week I dived into the world of skateboarding in the new Tony Hawk game. I just did a free skate session where I did all types of tricks to test my skill. The best skill that I had in the game would have to be my grind skill on the pipes or the half pipes. I was able to balance my character and keep him going forward pretty easily, but I still had some mishaps when I leaned too far to the right. Another skill that I tried my hand at were tail grabs and nose grabs. I was about 50-50 when performing these tricks because I would try and spin, which would cause me to land wrong, or I would hold onto the board for too long, which caused me to crash and land. The most frustrating trick that I tried to perform was the melon. I don't know what it was about this trick that I could not get landing down at all. I got lucky a couple of times on landing this trick, and that's what I think it just came down to, my lucky Irish skill. The one and only time that I can walk on the air is in this Tony Hawk game. A couple of other tricks that I was good at were the reach around invert and the triple kickflip. I was good at these tricks because of the simplicity of them. All I had to do was make sure that I had good balance on the invert and that my board was facing the correct way for the kickflip when I landed. The one trick that I really wanted to land though was my specialty trick, the 360 viral McTwist. I could not land this trick a single time. Even when I thought I had plenty of air time, I still landed on my butt. Well, that ends my time here in the virtual, so I'll see you guys in the real life.
We just got done in the virtual world. I'm here with Mason here in Hughes Fieldhouse, and we're going to do some skateboarding. So let's get to it.
Mason was a good teacher by starting off by showing me the basics of what good balance and feet position looks like when a rider rides on the board for the first time. Mason showed good riding form throughout his ride by keeping his balance and feeding, especially on the turns that he made. Mason made some pretty smooth turns and was patient on them, and when he started cruising on the straightaways, he looked really smooth and gracefully elegant out there riding the board. After Mason got done riding, it was my turn, and oh boy did I look ungraceful as a rider. I looked like a floundering bird learning how to fly for the first time with my arms out flapping. I could turn smoothly though with the best of them once I got going, but when I had to propel myself again, I quickly lost my balance on the board. My one and only trick that I had on the board in real life was crashing and burning on the pavement, which ended my skating career for the rest of my life.
Alright, well, that concludes the end of the show. We just got done skateboarding. I'm just going to ask Mason, how do you think I did?
Not too bad for a beginner. You definitely want to spread your legs more on the board because that gives you more balance. But also, something I'm working on too, you want to have your knees bent while you're...
And Mason also added that it helps you brace for impact like the one that I had at the end of my turn. Well, that is all the time that I have for this week, so I'll see you guys next week on Virtual and Reality.
Hello everybody and welcome to a new episode of Project Delta. Once again, I'm your host, Dalton Spees, and with me yet again this week is
Cody Nance.
Now Cody, the 2nd of October, we finally got the 4th installment in the Crash Bandicoot series.
Well, it's not really the 4th installment.
It's more like the 14th or something like that. But Cody, I know you're a big fan of the franchise, so I thought it'd be appropriate to bring you back, you know.
Of course.
And so we wanted to see if you think this game deserves to sit alongside the original trilogy.
Well, this game, I like it a lot, but I honestly also really like Wrath of Cortex a lot, and I don't like that they've eliminated it and Twinsanity from history.
No longer canon.
No more Cortex or Twinsanity, no more Nitro Kart, no more Tag Team. I mean, no more Crash of the Titans is a good thing, but
hey, but
you know,
we had Mind Over Mutant though.
We did have Mind Over Mutant, and it was worse.
And so, you know, a few years ago, was that a few years ago? Maybe a year ago? The Crash Insane trilogy seemed to be testing the interest in a new game. Were you happy to see the remasters were successful enough to get a new title?
Oh, absolutely. I was pretty ecstatic when the remasters came out, even though I didn't have as much experience with the original games as I did with the third-party, like, Universal stuff. But it was really exciting for me to just relive any nostalgia. You know, you bring me on here for nostalgia, Dalton. I'm noticing that. Every time we're on here, we're talking about a really old game sequel or something.
You're our really old game sequel expert.
Woohoo!
But so, do you know like how big this game is, and can you compare it to the previous titles in length?
So I have heard that there are over 100 levels in this game. Each of those levels has an inverted mode, where I haven't tried yet. And then, of course, there's the regular box and crystal challenges for everything. And I have not even finished the main story yet. And you're my roommate, so you know I've been playing this quite a bit.
True.
But a little bit of that is just because, like, I'm going back through all the older levels, trying to find all the boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, and of course that brings us to, you know, you talked about the inverted mode, and of course there's the other time trials and whatnot. So definitely those will help this game to be a lot more replayable. I mean, the originals were already, you know, had the time trials and all the collect the box challenges. So a lot of the Crash games, they're really good for, you know, like you said, it has 100 levels already, which is a pretty decent amount of levels.
Yeah.
But then it's got so many other ways to play that it really just makes it incredibly replayable. And you know, you get your money's worth, which that's what everybody wants when they buy a game, right?
For sure. And like that was one of the biggest controversies of this one coming out is it's the full 60, which it doesn't feel like it necessarily should be. Like the graphics don't really hold up to the Insane trilogy in my opinion.
Okay.
Like the fur textures and stuff like that. But it makes up for it with new playable characters.
Of course.
So,
and speaking of new playable characters, I saw that you get to play as Crash's arch nemesis, Cortex. And so how does it feel getting to play as him? And is he just as fun to control as Crash is?
So Cortex controls quite a bit differently than Crash. He doesn't have the double jump, and he has a ray gun that like turns the enemies into platforms. So a lot of his stuff is more like puzzle based than timing and quick platforming. But we also, Cortex isn't the only person we can play as. We can switch to Coco at any moment. We also have designated sections for Tana from the first game and Dingodile. And Dingodile is basically a third-person shooter, and Tana is a weird skill platform thingy.
Well, see, my favorite Crash character is, of course, Tiny, because despite his name being Tiny, he is actually
large.
Rather large. Sad news, Mel Winkler, the voice of Aku Aku, passed away this year. So are there any tributes that you know of in this game that kind of, you know?
I have not seen any mention of it.
No mention yet. I'm sure they're in there somewhere just because, you know, that's kind of a big deal. And
for sure.
Those kind of things always happen. But so, if this game means that Crash is fully back, would you like to see another 2 games to finish a new trilogy? Because, you know, like with Star Wars, everybody knows how good revisiting old franchises and giving them a new trilogy turns out. So what would you think about that if we got another 2 Crash games to fill this out, make it a trilogy?
I mean, I'm always down for more of the old mascot platformers. You know, it was back when a time when gaming was simpler. We didn't have all the microtransactions, all the games as a service, live stuff, and it was just a better time, I think, for gaming. And if we can go back to that in any degree, I always want that. My only concern is if they do, they might go too far with it again, like Crash of the Titans too far, and I'm not gonna want that.
And you mentioned microtransactions. Speaking of those, I noticed loading up this game that there are tons of skins for not only Crash, but also Coco.
Yes.
And we can see right now you're using, I believe, the ninja-themed skin, not like, you know, silent, sneaky ninja, but more like plays Fortnite and yells really loud ninja. So what are some of your favorite skins, and are there, just what are your favorite skins?
So I haven't unlocked very many yet. The way you get skins in this game is there are no microtransactions or anything like that. It's just if you complete a level 100%, you unlock a skin. And that alternates between Coco and Crash. So my favorite skin so far has definitely got to be the 360 no-scope, also known as the ninja skin as you just described it, or the engine skin. Basically it puts a big missile in Crash's head, just like Engine. My favorite Crash villain.
Your favorite Crash villain?
Aside from Crunch, but Crunch, turns into a bad guy and a good guy, and that's when I like him.
Oh, of course.
And this game, retcons Crunch out of existence, and that's not good.
They've destroyed so many of our favorite boys. So the real reason I brought you on here
There's a real reason?
So we could talk about a Crash Bash remake.
See, the issue I would have with that is I don't have any friends, so I would have nobody to play Crash Bash Remake with.
See, now that's where you find that through the power of remakes and technology, Crash Bash is now online.
Oh.
So you get to play against, and you get to play against people who aren't your friends, but total strangers who you get to crash them
and bash
them. And you get to bash.
If Crunch is in the game, I'm down with it.
Well, was Crunch in the original? Maybe.
No, he wasn't. It was before Wrath of Cortex, and he gets introduced in that game.
But yeah, Crash Bash, solid game.
No, it wasn't. Have you played Crash Bash?
Solid game. Imagine Mario Party, but cooler. Boom, Crash Bash.
I mean, I agree with that for like Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart, but I'm not sure. I think the king of all the party games would probably be Sonic Shuffle.
Now, speaking of Double Dash and Tag Team Racing, did we even mention Double Dash?
I don't think we did.
It was in my mind somewhere. But Tag Team Racing, Crash Tag Team Racing is Double Dash, but better.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Because you get to, you combine and you smash together and you form this team, but then, once your teammate has given you all the usefulness you need, you heel turn on them and you say, get out of my car, and you throw them out and you go and you get first place, and your teammate is just left, all by themselves, and
yeah,
they might get third.
My friend Noah did that to me all the time. Anytime he would come over, he'd bring over Crash Tag Team Racing just so he can do that to me, it seemed like.
What a guy.
What a guy.
What a guy. And you know what? What an episode of Project Delta it was this week.
It's been a pretty good episode.
Pretty good episode. And that's going to be it for us at Gentoo and Project Delta. I'm Dalton Spies, and this is
Cody Nance.
And we'll see you next week.